We're now going to do what is called as warped entrelac. And so you can do entrelac so that they're the equal number of boxes going across, and we have tutorials available for that on YouTube. But in this particular concept, what we want to do is we want to make it look warped. So here's the myth and the facts. Entrelac blocks can be different sizes as far as heights and widths, and when they're combined and working together like this, we are just going to be able to make that shape happen. So we are determining those heights and the boxes based on adding a new box or a new height to your project, and I'll explain that later on in this video series. So what we have here is that they're going to be providing to you information that the designer will tell you. So in this particular instance, the designer has told you that there's 7 loops here, and then there's 7 rows tall. And so the next one they'll have, this is 6 loops on the hook, and when you come up here, this is going to be 6 rows tall. And so every time you start a new box when you're going at the bottom, then that's going to determine the width, which is going to go all the way straight up your blanket. The height that is determined when you do this next one is going to be the same height going all the way across. And so if you look at this, you'll see that the widths were always the same going up all the way through here, and the height was always the same going all the way here. So it's always the first box that's going to determine the width of that particular column, and then it's going to be this box that's going to determine the height for that particular row of boxes going all the way across. And so by changing that, what's going to happen is you're going to cause this. So when we are following this, we're always following it up on a diagonal. So we always do our first box, then we do our next box, and I represented it by the same color. So this is your first box, you then travel up and do this box. So when you're looking at this sample, you'll do this box, go up and up. So everything is always done on an angle, and it's the height and the width of the boxes that determine how it's going to arc in order to keep it all steady like this. And so eventually you'll get to the very end of your concept just like this. So as I covered, the width of a box, the number of loops, is going to determine all the way up, and then the height is going to determine all the way across. So the neat thing about this is that when you're in the middle, if it's not an outside box, then you're just going to follow what you see, and it becomes very easy, and everything is always done up on an angle. Some of the rows, the designer may have you doing 2 sets of colors, or maybe 3. So we have a green, 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 and then the next one is also green, 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 green. So whenever you are starting again a new row, you always come back to the starting boxes down here and go up. So when we're finished up here, we come back and we start here. So we never turn around and go back in the opposite direction. So let's talk about the axis for what you're seeing here. So here's an official crochet diagram. So if we wanted 7 loops on the hook, we have to chain 7 to start. So the first loop that we start is actually the edge here, and that's included when we go second chain from the hook. So the straight on down is the Tunisian simple stitch, and then the return pass is represented by a wavy line. So row number 1 we pick up, and you'll see that there's no chain 1 shown to do the return pass, because that's just technically the way it's done. I don't really have a better explanation than that. That's just how it's done. And so then you come back and then you start again. So this first chain up is the last loop that was done when you went through 2s all the way back. And so you start second one over and pick them all up. And remember, the outside one here has to be picked up by that chain 1 at there. So you're going to go back and forth and following that. And then what you're seeing up here is called as a bind off. So you start your bind off, the second one over, and you keep binding off right to the very end, making sure that the last one is always through those that chain 1 at the very end. So it slightly changes when it comes to doing your entrelac, but this is it. So each one can be different widths and also different heights, so don't be confused by this. So you should know though, if you wanted a true box, that 7 loops on the hook and 5 rows makes a true box. So if you wanted a box of doing possibly 10 rows high, you would need to do 12 loops on the hook by 10 rows high, and that will give you the box shape. So whatever this is, the number of loops minus 2 will give you the number of rows that you need in order to complete it as a box. So a lot of people ask, I want to make a different size box. How do you do it? It's just a matter of the number of loops, and then the number of rows is 2 less than the number of loops that you started with. So you're going to start off right here, and you're going to start with the slip stitch right into this loop right here. And so we want to attach to the back loop only of that, and we want to chain the number. So if I need 6 loops on my hook, so the designer says you need 6, this attachment plus 5 is the number 6, because what's going to happen is that the connection spot that you will create on the back loop is actually the 6th loop that you need. So you're only going to want to chain 5. So that's something that you have to figure out. So if I only wanted 5 loops next time, then what I'm going to do is attach and then just chain 4 and then come back across, because the connection spot is that additional loop that you need. You're going to notice that the heights will match exactly the connection spots, and when you bind off, you're going to bind off and start right here, and this is already considered your first one, and then you're going to work your way across like so. So the connection spot equals one of the loops that you'll need, and so that you'll have to keep that in mind as you're going along. So in the connections that we have, this is traditional way where we come into the box and we grab 2 loops at the same time. This makes it tight, this makes it lumpy and not as stretchy. So in the modern way, which we're demonstrating today, is that you're going to use the back loops when using the side loops only, and you'll use both loops when you're on the tops, just like you do with traditional. So it's just a matter of changing your perspective on the sides here to make it so it's more flexible and a lot nicer to look at. So what we have is an additional tip. So when you're coming across and you're collecting, you've got to make sure that you get that chain 1 here. I put in a tapestry needle to show you where it is, because the number of when you're collecting across is the same number. So there was 10 here. So the 10th one was actually that one that you see. So you got to make sure you don't forget that one, or you'll be missing a loop. And it's really quite easy to be able to see that once you understand what you're looking at. So whether you're doing the traditional connection that will look like this, or the modern connection, this is exactly how it will look. And so this method here is more relaxed. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to begin in this particular process. We're going to make a real sample, and you can see the real sample is going to be available to you further on in this particular workshop. So the designers will normally provide information that will look like this. And they will give you the number of loops that are in the x-axis, okay? So a number of loops that will be on your hook, and this is the number of rows high. So what we want to do is that you'll complete the first one, come back, and now it's only going to be 5 loops wide, and then this one will be only 6 tall. And you can see that this carries all the way up the same, so it'll always be 5 loops in this direction, and this one will always be 6 rows high all the way across. So it's really easy to be able to follow through what's in the center of things. It's your first box and your last box that will determine the width, and this one will determine the height. There's also a crochet diagram available to you if you want to see it in that particular concept as well, starting with the very first one, and then you can work your way up an angle just like this.